Hello and good evening, and welcome everybody to the SRWA Ski Trip announcement. We have with us here Charlotte Rolfe Pig. Hello, Charlotte. How are you this evening?
I'm very well. Thank you very much.
Good. So, great. Now, obviously, don't worry, everybody. I'm not going to be here the whole time. Charlotte's going to talk you through the trip, but I'm just here to get us started, talk you through some of the practicalities, and kind of talk to you how we're going to do things. So Charlotte's going to talk you through the trip, little presentation, just some of the ins and outs of the trip. And we're delighted that we're back in a position where we can offer this, which I'm sure Charlotte will also say. So she's going to cover a lot of ground. We'll hopefully have you out of here in about 15, 20 minutes. A lot of questions will be answered, but if there are any questions you have that are burning questions, then feel free, if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, then just send a comment through where you're watching, and that will come through to us. And anything that we don't think we've answered and we've got time, we'll see if Charlotte can do her best to answer them. And obviously some questions will be very kind of specific to certain children or attendees. So in some cases, we might need to just be able to give general kind of feedback, but we'll do our best to cover everything in as much detail as we can. So Charlotte, I guess it's over to you now to kind of talk us through the nitty-gritty of this amazing opportunity. Let's get you in there first. It might actually help. There we go.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be sat here about to talk you through the ski trip. It's been a crazy week. We have been absolutely overwhelmed with demand for this trip, and we're really thrilled to obviously be able to offer it to as many students as we possibly can. Really excited, especially after the last one we launched was cancelled because of COVID. So I'm just so excited to be sat here going through all this with you now. So I'm just going to run through the logistics of the trip, everything you kind of need to know. I've got a lot of questions as well at the already with some answers. Hand says any questions that I haven't covered, please do pop them in the comment section at the end. Okay, so I want to a little bit. Some of you may not really know who I am. I am the current subject lead for art and photography, but I am also absolutely passionate about winter sports. I hold the snow sports course organizer qualification and the alpine ski leaders course qualification, as well as the alpine environment first aid specific QA level 2 qualification. The ASLC qualification means that I am insured to lead students. So when they finish their lessons in the afternoon, any students who wish to have a little bit more practice, I'm insured and legally qualified to be able to do that. And I've had many years experience in the mountains. I'm advanced level skier and snowboarder, and have done, before I was a teacher, I actually did a season with PGL as a ski rep in Austria. So really excited about encouraging students to enjoy the snow as much as I do. Okay, just next thing I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is Skibound, which is the tour operator we are running with now. We've gone with this tour operator before. Really good, 30 years experience. We've certainly had a great time with them before, so that's why we've decided to choose them again. They have all the accreditations, as you can see, and they're a local company as well, so it's really nice to support someone from our area. What's included in the tour? So for the fee, that includes the following: return coach transport to and from school. So students will actually get picked up from school and dropped back from school. The ferry crossing, it's also based 6 nights full board accommodation. So that's your breakfast, that's hot lunches, and that's your dinner. That's all your ski boot and helmet hire. That is your lift pass. That's your ski tuition. So you have 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon for 6 days. There's a final day ski race as well. So that's your medals and your certificates for that with the ski school. Full itinerary of après ski. So things like we've done in the past: bowling, pizza nights, movie nights, quiz nights, games nights, or all these sort of things will be organised for students in the evening. All students will receive a hoodie as well. or there is the option for the 1 hour free ski led by myself as well. Extra things to consider that aren't included: spending money. Of course, this is a personal choice, how much you'd like your child to take with them. Inward and outward journeys, money for snacks. We will have a lot of stops, so legally the drivers have to stop. So we do have set comfort breaks on the journey, so it'd be good for students to be able to buy some foods and some snacks. One thing that I think might need to be considered is possible costs incurred from phone and data usage, because I'm not sure since Brexit if we get your free data anymore. So that's something you might need to look at getting an add-on. And also, obviously, ski clothing. But I've got a lot of options to share with you about ski clothing as well, which I'll talk about in a few minutes' time. Okay. So just to talk to you a little bit about ski school. As I said, 6 days skiing is included in the package. That's 4 hours of instruction per day. You're met by your instructor every morning. And the group sizes are nice and small, approximately 12. So it's really good supervision there. I've had quite a few queries already from parents saying that their child already has skiing experience. If children have skied before, what will happen on the first day is the instructors will ask experienced students to do a test run, and then they can group the students accordingly, so that students who have skied before will be able to be in a slightly more advanced group. Okay, and I'm assuming the amount of queries I've had by that, we will have a group that's slightly more advanced. So that's really great. Okay, thank you. Next, I'll just have a quick glance at the actual resort itself. So Bardonecchia, the area was actually part of the 2006 Winter Olympics. So it's a great area, massive 100 kilometers of skiable terrain. What I like about it as well is quite a lot of trails for beginners and intermediates. So I'm assuming a lot of people coming, students coming, may not have done it before. So it's great that there's so many runs that they can kind of learn the skill. And obviously, hopefully move up to intermediate in a week. There's another 18 runs for intermediate. And obviously the students that have skied before, there's a few advanced ones on there as well. Okay. So again, just going on from what I'm saying, the accommodation is actually Olympic Village, which again I think is incredible. So the accommodation is actually where the Winter Olympic athletes would have stayed in 2006, which I think's quite exciting. It's a massive complex. As you can see, it's got games rooms, lots of things to entertain the students in their après-ski hours after skiing. Nice sociable areas for eating. And yeah, it'll be really good, especially by the looks of it. We're going to have a nice big group, so we're going to have lots of space to relax in the evenings. So just going back to talk about ski clothing, it is an extreme sport, so you will need to ensure that your child is properly equipped to deal with everything the mountains can throw at you. Essentials: you need a ski jacket, ski trousers, at least 2 base layers, I'd say. Fleece or a hoodie, but the students will be getting a hoodie as part of the deal anyway. At least 1 pair of ski gloves, I would say 2, especially in Easter. It may be slushy conditions. Gloves might get really, really wet, take a while to dry out. So if you've got a spare one, you can alternate. It'd be good to have a ski hat. Obviously, students, it's compulsory they wear helmets during the lessons, but in the evening, if we're out, it might be a bit cold, so you get to have a nice warm hat there. Ski socks, 2 to 3 pairs, possibly more. Goggles, again, Easter skiing conditions will be very sunny. We don't want to have any people with snow blindness, so you need to make sure you have your goggles. You can use sunglasses, but they're quite easy to break or get lost. I think goggles, as a rule, are generally better to skiing. If you do want to go down the sunglasses route, they must be plastic for safety, because if you do fall on them and they're glass or they're metal, then you could have some injuries there. So just make sure if you're going to use sunglasses and that they're plastic. Very important. Sunscreen, lip salve, absolutely imperative that they have that, especially for Easter skiing. Small rucksack is good. So students, it's a hard sport. Have a small rucksack to carry things like chocolate bars and some water. Very, very important. A plastic water bottle, again, it's the plastic element of it. So if you do take a tumble and you fall on it, you're not going to hurt yourself so much. Warm, comfortable shoes or boots for the evenings, ideally waterproof. At the end, I have suggested onesie or fancy dress. In the past, we have traditionally done the ski race in fancy dress. This is, of course, optional, not essential, but it is always a bit of fun. And what I would say about onesies is they are really good to travel in as well, and they're quite big, so you can put them over your ski gear. But that's just something for you to think about. Onesies and fancy dress is not essential, but something to think about. Okay. We do... one last thing on the clothing. We do work with a company called Euroski. So closer to the time of departure, we have this company come in. We've worked with them before, and they're brilliant. They offer really reasonable ski clothing that you can hire for the week. They put packages together. You hire them for the week, and then you just give them back at the end of the week. So they will be coming in much closer to departure when we have our final information evening, and you can book stuff up there. Alternatively, places to look: Sports Direct, Decathlon, TK Maxx. Places like Aldi and Lidl do really reasonable ski wear as well. Also places like Marketplace and eBay. And especially with COVID, a lot of last season stuff is going very cheap as well. So do keep your eye out for that. Okay. So what next? As I said at the beginning of this presentation, it has been an incredible week. Previous information evenings we've never even had a reply slip back, let alone people paying the deposits. So I just want to talk a little bit about where we're kind of at with that, because I know there's been a little bit of frustration with parents thinking that spaces have gone. We initially based the trip on one coach load going, because that's all we've ever taken before is one coach load. So that was what the initial parent pay where you could pay your deposit. But because we had such high demands, we opened up the waiting list with a view to taking another coach. Okay, so the waiting list, what we'll do is we'll look at numbers when parent pay is closed, and we will go back to the tour operator and see what they can offer us. Now, what I really want to stress, I think most people have put their name on the waiting list, but if you are watching this and you haven't been on parent pay or logged on or registered interest for your child and put their name on the waiting list, I really strongly suggest you do that either this evening or if you have problems logging in, contact the finance office tomorrow, because we will be closing the lists off by tomorrow by midday, because we will have to start liaising with the tour operator to see what they can offer us with the numbers we have interested. So at the moment, I'm hoping we can accommodate everybody. I've already forewarned the tour operator that we're oversubscribed, and they're really keen to be able to help us with that.
Charlotte, just a quick question that's actually just come up there. Someone's actually asked, just in terms of timescales of knowing when the waiting list will be able to go. Do you have any idea on that? I want to get it signed off as soon as possible. So that's what I mean. If we close off the waiting list tomorrow, I can look at numbers, I can liaise with the tour operator, and they're generally really quick. So they should be able to get back to me by the end of this week. So, and then we'll just come back and I'll have to speak to finance and they'll have to set it up. But I'm envisaging everyone's on the waiting list because we had to set it up in such a rush. It'll just be a case of like adding it on to the initial page where you could put your deposits, but I will have to speak to finance on that. But yeah, I want the turnaround to be quite quick. Great.
On this. Just want to talk a little bit about behaviour expectations. I have had a look at all the names on the list, that actually the students all have signed up are absolutely incredible. So I'm not sure this is something I really have to think about. But as the organizer of this trip, it's, of course, especially with so many students wanting to come, it's an incredible responsibility for myself and my colleagues to take students to take part in what is an extreme sport. So we need to make sure that we can trust our students and make sure that their behaviour is acceptable, as it is a dangerous sport. So if students have a track record of not being able to follow instructions, that is a bit of a worry, because if they do that in the class, it's a detention. If they do it in a mountain, it's potentially risking themselves and others around them. So that's I feel like that's a bit of a downer, but I just want everybody to be aware that students will need to be able to follow instructions on the mountains. It's a very, very important skill. So this is just following up, as Mr. Monahan just said, confirming the trip. I will endeavour to get this squared away by the end of this week. But as just to reiterate, please, if your name is not on the parent pay on the waiting list, please do prioritise getting that on there tonight by midday at the latest tomorrow, because we will be closing those lists down so I can see the numbers and go back to the tour operator. Hopefully it'll be all good. We can offer everybody a place, and then we'll just, everyone who needs to pay the deposit, we can let you know so you can do that for us. On the initial letter, the deposit didn't need to be paid till the 28th of February. So that's what I'm saying. We're very overwhelmed of how quickly people have actually got on board with this. Okay. Finally, then, I've got a lot of questions from previous years that have come up. So I'll go through some of the questions. And then, of course, the big one that I'm sure a lot of people are a bit worried about is COVID. I've got quite a lot of information on COVID. So I'll try and cover as much of this as possible. And if there's anything you don't think I've covered, then please do write a comment. First one's the general ones associated with the ski trip. For example, what if there's no snow? We are going in Easter. It is the end of the season. This will be covered by standard winter sports insurance that we have taken out with the trip. So if there's no snow in resort, the tour operator we have the coach, we have the use of coach in resort. The tour operator will take us to where there is snow. So that will be covered. We've always gone in Easter, even when I'm not with a school ski trip. When I go on my own ski holidays in Easter, I've never had an issue in Easter where there's been no snow. So I think we should be fine there. What if my child is injured before the trip? Again, we have really in-depth insurance. So I'm happy to send out the insurance documents to anybody who'd like to read it in more detail. You can just drop me an email to request that, and I can send it through for you. But when we had this previous question, that has been covered by insurance as well. Same, what if my child is injured on the trip? We have full winter sports cover for injuries. How much spending money should my child take? This is a personal choice. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner are all included. That's with drinks as well. So it just depends. Again, this is absolute personal choice. In previous years, we've saved maybe €10 a day, but for some people, that's been too much. For other people, that's not enough. But I'm happy to talk about that closer to the time. What are the room arrangements? So room arrangements will be based probably on year groups, so friendship groups within year groups. The rooms, I believe, between 4 and 6. So again, students, we're not going to be putting students in with who they don't want to be. Obviously, it will be, the students' holiday. We want them to have a good time. And again, when we get closer to time, we'll look at the different friendship groups and we'll liaise with all the students so that everybody's happy with where they end up for the week. What are the first aid arrangements if my child has a condition? So most of the leaders coming on the trip will be first aid qualified. And what we'll do, because it's such a big group, each year group will be designated a first aider, and they will be responsible for any medications, inhalers, things like that we've had in the past. We'll have one specified person per year to be in charge of that medication for your child. What about the security of your child's passport? Passports, we will collect in before the trip, about a week before the trip. The passport page will be scanned in, so we have digital copies in case any passports are lost. This, of course, will be deleted straight after the trip. We will keep hold of the passports under lock and key, so the children will not have their passports whilst they're on the trip. So they will have them for passport control, then we will collect them back in, and then we will keep them safe. So there's no chance of them getting lost. So that's general. With regards to COVID, I'm sure you will appreciate this is just changing all the time. And from even when I wrote the risk assessment for this trip, the guidelines have changed already. I'm sure there's lots of questions. We have trip-specific insurance, including full COVID cover. That is included in the price. And again, if you would like to receive a copy of this insurance document, then please do drop me an email and I can send it through to you. Some of the most common questions that I've been asked. What if my child has COVID just before the trip? This is covered by insurance up to 14 days before departure. And it also covers positive cases in resorts. And the costs associated, like rearranged flights, accommodation, etc., that is all covered. What if the UK goes into lockdown again? If the trip was to be cancelled due to FCO advice, for example, a return of the red list or similar, this is covered by the standard package travels regulations, and the tour operator would be obliged to refund on these regulations. So, for example, at Easter 2020, when COVID put a travel ban across the world, we had to refund every group books, so that it will be the same. If the UK went into lockdown, then the tour operator would assume that the government would again advise against all but essential travel. This would be covered by package travel regulations as above, so a full refund would be given. What if Italy were to go into lockdown but the UK did not? If the government were not advising against travel to or from the country you're travelling to, but that country went into lockdown or had quarantine requirements upon arrival, which would be rare if they're in lockdown, then there would be 3 options which should be offered to us before we're imminently due to travel, so to allow things to change. These options would be to an alternate destination, so maybe France or Austria or another country. It would be to postpone the trip, or we'd get a full refund. So again, that's something that we would have to think about closely. If the DFE were to advise against travel, then we would also refund the trip. There is so much more, like things I've been asked about vaccinations, but I think as the trip is still so far away and vaccinations only supposedly lasting X amount of time, I think that area we've just kind of got to play it by ear. As I said, with every year to go, undoubtedly things are going to change. It's an ongoing situation. So we're just going to have to keep dialogue open with you guys as it develops. So really, that's kind of it from me. I think the most important thing for me is, because we've had such interest, and I'm repeating myself, I know, but if your name is not down on the waiting list, you really need to make sure you get that down there by midday tomorrow, because that's when we will be closing parent pay and looking to sign off.
Okay, so Charlotte,
I just want to sign off by saying I'm just so thrilled that we have had such a massive uptake, and the fact that we potentially could be taking 80, possibly 90 students is just incredible, especially after the horrid 2 years we've just had. So I'm just going to speak to Mr. Monahan and see if we've had any questions I haven't answered.
Yeah, so
that
Charlotte,
I could maybe
there's a couple
try.
there. So a lot of things you covered. It's great just to tick them off as you kind of answered them. So one of them was just, there's a couple of questions about just how often we run these trips, or the one the next year or the year after. How often are these activities?
So traditionally we've done it biannually. However, as I said, I'd be blown away by every 2 years. But because we've been so blown away with the popularity of this trip, I'll happily to do it annually. So we could look to be launching another one.
Okay.
Upon the back of this one. So we'll be doing
about where to find the people saying they're going to parent pay and having troubles finding the form. So would it be just best to get in touch with the finance team in the morning if there's any issues with finding the form?
Yep. I can't help with parent pay. So I don't have any power over parent pay. So that would have to be finance.
And there are some questions here about how do you find your access login for parent pay. In most situations, you should be able to click on the forgot password. But if you have any issues beyond that, you can just contact finance at SRWA, which is, if I just have a look, I'll put this up on the screen. This is finance at srwa.woodard.co.uk. Other questions then, there's things like, let's have a look. One was, my children who missed out last time, will they be given priority? Or I presume students who wanted to go last time, if they're on the waiting list now, will obviously be going.
Yeah, I think that I have brought that up with, a few people. There are students that didn't make the deposit but are on the waiting list. But yeah, students who are on the cancelled trip will get priority. Yeah, I think that's only fair.
And then probably a little bit of a bureaucratic question. So I know obviously at some point you have to take details of student passports and things like that. Someone's asked whether they can add their child to the waiting list if they haven't yet got a passport. So I guess it's how early do you need the passport details, knowing that currently the government's pretty slow at issuing new passports.
So what's happened with the passports? Yes, you can still add your child to the waiting list. You can add any number. The system can't check. And that's the same with the EHIC as well. And to be honest, there's a few questions coming through about the EHIC. I'm not even sure we'll be using EHIC. So again, don't worry too much about that because we have got our own full insurance. I will be collecting in passport details probably 2 months before we travel. So you've got a year to get a passport.
Yeah. And let's have a look. So it's just everything else is just about the waiting list. So it sounds like basically get on the waiting list tonight, by tomorrow at midday. Then you'll have a chat close it down and chat with the organisers, and pretty much feeling confident that they're going to be in a position to accommodate most people, unless all of a sudden 300 people join tonight.
Yeah, well, that will be an issue. Yeah, but I think we're looking about the 2-coach area, and I think we should be able to accommodate that.
Okay. Let's have a look. So just to see anything else. So at the moment, I think some of the parent pay is saying it's all booked. So we might just have to have a look at that to see if there's any block on that at the minute.
There shouldn't be on the waiting list because there's no cap on the waiting list. So just make sure they're going to the right place. Ski trip waiting list.
So just make sure you're putting your name on the waiting list and not trying to actually pay the deposit. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then I think that's about it. So the question is how long the journey is.
That's quite a good question, actually. It's long. We go by coach. It's generally about 17 hours, but we go through the night. So what will happen is students, be the last day of term, students will go home, get their luggage, come back here. We normally leave about 5 in the evening, drive to Dover, meet our drivers, have a little bit of a leg stretch on the ferry, and then as a rule it's lights out and try and get as much sleep as we can overnight, and it's the same on the way back.
And then some questions here I can answer. So someone's asked, is it up to year 10, and then will we prioritize students who'd be in year 11 because they won't get another chance of going? So firstly, it's presently up to everybody who would be in the school at the time. So students in sixth form are being invited, so from 7 right up to currently year 12s who would be in year 13 at the time of the trip. So year 11s, obviously we expect that students join us in the sixth form. So if someone's going to be in year 11, then it's just the same protocols, I would guess, of getting your name on the list in good time. And there would be a further chance 2 years down the line as they were in year 13. And as it happens over the Easter holidays, it doesn't interfere with exams. So all year groups up to year 12, because then every single student in the school has an option to go in that 1 year's time. I think that's it, Charlotte. There's nothing else. There's definitely seems a few little technical issues maybe with the form on parent pay. So what we can do is, if you're happy, we can put up your. Are you happy if we share your email address or?
Yep. So just to clarify though, if you have any questions actually about the ski trip, please email me. But anything to do with parent pay, I won't be able to help with. But please contact finance. But anything to do with the ski trip, any of the logistics, like I said, if you want the insurance documents, anything like that, please do email me.
So finance have got their details there on the screen. So just finance@srwa.woodard.co.uk. But then for Charlotte, if you actually have questions about the trip itself, then Charlotte's obviously in a position to help you out, and her details then, let's get it up on the screen, is the same ending, srwa.co.uk, but with, there we go. So any other questions? I think we're all good now. So thank you, Charlotte. I think that's covered pretty much everything. Thank you to everybody for quite a lot of people, actually, over 130 people at the moment are watching. So again, any questions about finance, email finance, anything about the trip directly, contact Charlotte. And then there was one question here about kids with no British passport, different passport in place. I believe the children just have to meet the appropriate requirements for entry into Italy and return to the UK. Would that be right? So yes, I think it would be that if there's, I think Charlotte might need to, you'll need to look in that. But if there's, have you had children in the past that have had foreign passports?
Not through this school, but at my last school when we did the trip there, I have spoken to the tour operator about this, and they said probably it's better to contact the Italian embassy in the first instance to see what you need. So that's might be something you'll need to do from parents might need to do from their end.
Okay, great. All right, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Charlotte. And again, we'll put up quickly at the end when we're leaving. We'll put up the details for.
Sorry, I've just seen another good question there. What is the teacher-pupil ratio? It's 1 to 8,
oh, yes.
so it's really it's quite nice small groupings there. So we will look after all of the students, I promise.
Very good. All right, thank you for your time, and we'll just get those details up on the screen for a second first. People will be able to take down email addresses, and then yeah, we'll speak to everyone soon. Thanks again.